At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked number one in innovation for 10 consecutive years and number two among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So this is interesting. We're told that Elon Musk decided to post the results of his drug tests. This back and forth between him and Trump that happened, which I think is now over. I think they've made this, they've made up. But apparently he was hurt that Trump had suggested that he was addicted to drugs. And so he shared a photo of his test results, captioning "Laugh Out Loud," where he is negative for fentanyl, ketamine, and other substances. Now, there's been rumors that he was on psychedelics and stimulants while he was working on Doge. I mean, if that's the case, I honestly, they got a lot of work done. I'm not condoning any drug use, but they found a lot in such a short period of time. But the idea that somebody is, let's say, addicted. It's a conversation that we have, and it gets wrongly misinterpreted as somebody, shall we say, being bad, and we have to understand that as it pertains to mental health. If somebody is using a substance, why is that? Is it that they're treating an underlying mental health issue? Is it that it's controlling symptoms? Is it that their mental health issue is driving them to that use? I'm very excited about our next guest. We're going to be talking about addiction. Addiction, it's not just a single diagnosis. Usually it's a part of something bigger and more general that we need to evaluate. And the Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation is the nation's leading nonprofit provider of comprehensive inpatient and outpatient addiction and mental health care for adults and youth. They've expanded their co-occurring model of care, providing the same team for both mental health as well as substance use disorders so that it's not fragmented. The patients could get all their care in one place. This not only offers a recovery path that integrates mental health and substance use treatment, but it also helps patients kind of brave those layers of concomitant and co-occurring conditions. Not to mention the support for the families. Joining us next is Dr. Joseph Lee, President and CEO of Hazelden Betty Ford. Dr. Lee, thank you so much for joining us.
Dr. Daliah, thanks for having us on.
Wow. So, this ongoing mental health and addiction crisis, the numbers are startling. Talk to us about those statistics.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about in the backdrop. About a quarter of Americans above the age of 18 qualify for a behavioral health diagnosis. And it gets worse when you talk about young adults. Between the ages of 18 to 25 in the past year, nearly 50% had a diagnosable substance use disorder or mental health condition. And here's the fact that a lot of people don't hear a lot. 7.5 million kids out there currently live in families with a parent who has an active addiction. And so this is a huge problem. We've seen it. We've seen some favorable signs in the opioid epidemic. Overdoses finally going down after well over a decade. But there are still large looming problems. But the other important part of the backdrop is, despite this mental health crisis, I don't think people really like how mental health care is delivered in America. And that's what we're looking to solve.
That's wonderful. Now, the Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation, talk to us about, the numbers of patients and who you help.
Yeah, we have inpatient, outpatient, virtual services. We have family services, children's services. We have a research arm, a publishing department. We do all these things because fundamentally we don't see ourselves as just a treatment nonprofit. We see ourselves as a social reform movement, a mission of dignity. And we were founded in 1949. And so for 76 years, we were founded on a farm, by the way. That's where our name comes from, Hazelden. It was named after the owner, Hazel, so it was Hazelden. And then we merged with Betty Ford, and a lot of people know Mrs. Ford, and she spoke bravely about breast cancer and her addiction journey when she was the first lady. And so our mission's been the same for a number of years, and we're committed to being the gold standard in the field. And a lot of people look at us to change the standard in the field. And I think the important message for people to hear is people should demand more from behavioral health care. I think quality control in our field is really arbitrary. And when we treat co-occurring conditions, that means addiction and mental health conditions together at one place. I think we can do better. We can do better than that.
It does. It helps. This co-occurring care is so vital. So talk to us about, some of the services you offer to the patients and families.
Yeah. So when someone comes in for care, and let's say that they're having a severe alcohol use disorder, and so they're really struggling with alcohol, but later in care they may reveal trauma within their life story that is really impactful to their healing. And then we may find out that family relationships have really been severed, and those need repairing, and those family members are struggling with shame, and they wonder if it's their fault, and they need skills. And then they have young kids who think that their parent was drinking because they didn't love them or because they were bad. All of these individuals need care together. And right now in America, too much of the care is fragmented. You go somewhere for medication, somewhere else for depression, somewhere else for addiction treatment. Your family goes somewhere else, and the children get completely neglected. But the other important part, and I think you'd appreciate this, Dr. Daliah, as a physician, quality control in behavioral health is very poor. It's very arbitrary. It kind of depends on what counselor you get or what therapist you get. And you wouldn't go to a hospital where they put an IV line 16 different ways or do routine surgeries in 20 different ways. But unfortunately, that's where behavioral health care is now. How we're going to solve that when we deliver co-occurring care is we have a data set, maybe one of the best data sets for all of addiction medicine. And we combine that with all the intellectual property we have in our publishing arm to create a curriculum that evolves with the data, that creates personalized medicine tracks for these individuals. And so we can offer the same high quality of care anywhere anyone goes within our community.
So important. Dr. Lee, where can my listeners find more information?
We have a website called herewithyou.org. You can go on that site, see all the resources, take screeners, get information for yourself or your loved one.
Love it. Gosh, thank you so much for coming on. Can't wait to have you back.
Thank you, Dr. Daliah.
All right, guys, don't go away. We'll be right back. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99-799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99-799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99-799. Again, FREE to 99-799.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Genesis Communications. And I'm sorry to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. You see what happens? I turned a year older, and all of a sudden I'm getting things wrong. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So, it's interesting to see Congress and Bernie Sanders and how everybody is looking at the Israeli-Iran conflict. And I don't know why people's heads are in the sand. And I think it's obvious. I think what has happened is so obvious, and America should be very, very grateful to Israel for doing their dirty work. But, I think people are going to play dumb because they want to be anti-Israel and they want to be, just, I guess, always causing chaos. And so, when you look and see what happened in the last few days, you can't just look at what happened in the last few days as, okay, well, Israel preemptively tried to destroy Iran's nuclear capability. You have to rewind to all the threats of Iran wanting Israel off the face of the earth, the assassination attempts of Trump, of what's been going on with the funding of Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and all that. And I understand foreign policy. There's so much news. It really depends on whatever the station you like to watch is going to cover it. But having family and friends and having common sense, when there is another country that has continually vowed to destroy their enemies, and they have deep underground facilities, and they're like, yeah, we'll tell America we won't make, we won't enrich uranium, we won't, create nuclear weaponry, we'll keep it at bay. Israel knows, and what a lot of people also aren't realizing is Israel was able to do this very successful initial attack with help from the Iranians. They don't like to be called Iran. It's Iran, so it's Iranians but the Iranians don't like the regime. So this was not just, Israel figured out how to infiltrate, and they worked with people who are very, very unhappy, that do not want to see a nuclear war. And if you're looking at the other countries in the area, trust me, these other countries, Egypt, Jordan, they don't want nuclear war. They don't want it, especially when, you keep hearing, we're going to destroy Israel, we're going to destroy Israel, we're going to, and so you're seeing people, this is horrible that there's a conflict. But inside they're like, whew, okay. All right, we are now 3 steps back from where we were, being closer to a nuclear war. And trust me, people say, a country's not going to launch nuclear weapons because they don't want to get hurt and they don't want to get destroyed. Okay, you're using American logic. Okay, the U.S. doesn't want to go and attack anybody and then they get attacked. That's how we Americans think. But when you look at what's going on with where Hamas had no problem attacking Israel and then going back and putting their their cities and citizens at risk. When you saw the 9/11 suicide bombers, you have individuals that have no problem dying for the cause. And so for them to get the credit of annihilating Israel is a dream of theirs. Our dream is peace in America. It's world peace, making sure that everything is copacetic, that nobody gets hurt. But that's not what everybody else's dream is. And so, when you see these other countries going, oh, what Israel did is so bad. So Israel attacks the nuclear facilities and individuals involved of the nuclear, who's going to be involved in war, whereas Iran decides to missile civilian areas. And you're like, come on. And now it is escalating. It is. And rather than being all precise, now it's going to be more chaotic. And so we're going to see, more and more of the fighting. The last thing America should be doing is saying, oh, this is bad. We don't like Israel. This is, Israel needs to annihilate. And America doesn't have to necessarily be the annihilator, but Israel has to annihilate the nuclear capabilities. They don't have to annihilate Iran. They don't have to annihilate, particular regimes, but they have to limit them from acting on those threats. If you're, I don't know if, you've ever studied, criminal law. If somebody threatens to hurt you, all right, you have a right to defend yourself. And if somebody is threatening that they're going to do something, all right, that's a threat. That's not, you can't be like, oh, well, they're just, talking smoke. I mean, we have seen people who have acted on those threats. There is no way Iran, if they were able to have that capability, would not act on the threats they've given to Israel throughout time. So eliminating the threat would either be eliminating a country, which Israel didn't want to do, or just eliminate the weapon. If you could get to that weapon and you could really decimate their abilities to attack, then you're going to have some temporary peace. Now, people say, Dr. Daliah, there's got to be a way to have peace in the Middle East. There's not going to be peace when people want to start, when people want to attack, when people want to kill. I mean, the fact that Hamas infiltrated, funded by Iran, a peace concert and a kibbutz to kill, murder, rape, abduct, it shows you that there are individuals and proxies and countries and territories that want nothing more than mayhem. Trust me, Israel wants peace. They don't want to be nuked. That's why this started. They don't want to be nuked. Can you blame them? And America doesn't want Iran having a nuclear capability. Remember, these other countries don't want to be drawn into the conflict. So basically what's happening now is most of the people in the area, when this happened, was like, whew, Israel did our dirty work. We didn't have to step in and we didn't have to do the dirty work. Israel handled it. Now, of course, Iran is mad. So rather than them trying to go after Israel's capabilities and military, they just decide to go after apartment complexes and just send a barrage of missiles to just kill Israelis. Okay, come on. And nobody's looking at this. Nobody's watching this. They're watching it, but they're like, oh, Israel's bad. Israel's bad. Listen, Israel was attacked. War started years ago. And Hamas was the pinky finger of Iran. And what Hamas was able to do, right, in 2023 was a small part of what Iran could do. And Israel's not going to wait for that to happen again. It's the Israeli Defense Force, right? They have to always be in defense. They don't necessarily go in and say, okay, you know what? I want to, annihilate all these people and I want to just take over because that's just, I want more land. Israel barely has any land as it is, but they are going to make moves to defend themselves. And if people don't like it, you don't like it, you don't like it. But America wanted this to happen. They did not want Iran to have nuclear capabilities. So Israel does their dirty work. Now, what role does America play? Well, the job needs to get finished. From what we understand, well, some of these nuclear facilities are really, really deep underground. Well, of course, because they want to hide them. Yeah, you think they're going to tell America everything they're doing? Of course not. So, I don't want boots on the ground, but the last thing the U.S. should do is not support Israel in their work. I mean, Israel can handle things. And gratefully, they do, have the support of America and equipment and money and training. But, to say, look, Iran promised, they put in writing that they won't attack and they won't use the nuke. Nobody can believe that. Nobody can. And when you look at the capability of what some people could do, especially countries that fund terrorism, don't be naive. U.S. needs to have Israel's back because Israel is doing the job that America needs. 1-877-Doc Dolly. Don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of my listeners asked, when they see a person in a mask, what does that mean now? So here's the thing. I do see people in masks. The first thing I think of is they're undergoing chemotherapy and they are immunocompromised. And so when I see somebody wearing a mask, I feel like they are trying to protect themselves. The next thing I think of is maybe they do have an illness and they want to protect others. And I know masks got really political because they mandated them, and many of them were dirty and reused, and then the masks were hurting the environment, and nobody was getting access to the N95 respirators, which would have done a better job. But then there was a study saying the N95 respirators have to be aired out once you open them because there could be chemicals on them. And so it was a cluster and a seventh. But I do see people wear masks. If it's a medical mask, I think it's because of a medical issue. If they're wearing these ski masks and other things that prior to COVID would have suggested you were about to rob a bank, I'm thinking then it's because they're up to no good. All right? A ski mask does not provide protection against COVID. I mean, now that these surgical or these face medical masks are so ubiquitous, they're cheaper. You don't necessarily need to. There's no excuse to, shall we say, not use a medical mask. But very interestingly, California now, is proposing a law that rather than banning wearing face masks if you're about to commit a crime, etc., they aren't going to crack down on protesters or criminals wearing masks. Apparently, they want to make law enforcement follow a new law where they cannot wear face coverings. Now, why would law enforcement be using a face covering? Well, if they're a part of ICE, if they are a part of certain missions, all right, that's their cover. That's it protects them. It protects their family. And because they're going after individuals such as cartel members, terrorists, they have every right to protect their identity while they are trying to do a raid. And now that you have everybody with cameras and you have all this facial recognition software, ICE and law enforcement are using means to protect their identity. Oh, Dr. Daliah, that's ridiculous. Nobody's going to hurt them. Nobody's going to hunt them down. Ask that what's going on in Minnesota, where that individual went to hunt down lawmakers. Trust me, there are sick individuals out there. And if you want law enforcement to have the cojones and the guts to take on cartel members or Tren de Aragua, you need to give them the protections they need to know that they're not going to be outed or their family found, etc. I mean, I understand other countries are really, really fearful of going after criminals because they think the criminals will come after them. I mean, America, our men and women in law enforcement, they're badass. I mean, they have vowed to protect us, to serve our citizens, and to decrease crime in our communities. And if they have to go up to some pretty bad people, we need to give them whatever protections they feel they need. So I find it odd that in California, I mean, it might not be odd being, with California's history, but I'm from California. I love the state. It kills me to see this sort of rhetoric and this sort of logic coming from one of the most beautiful states. But Democratic lawmakers want to prohibit law enforcement officers from protecting their identity. They're calling it the No Secret Police Act to ban most law enforcement members from covering their faces when interacting with the public. Now, what's ludicrous about this is wasn't California one of the first to mandate that you have to wear a mask with COVID to not make other people sick? So now there's going to be a law preventing you from wearing that mask. What if the law enforcement officer has COVID? What if the law enforcement officer has a virus or a bacteria that, walking pneumonia? You're banning them from wearing a mask? So the bill would also require officers to display identifying information on their uniforms, like name tags on their helmets. Are you kidding me? So they're claiming that this is secret police. Listen, I understand that everybody is, on edge because Biden had left such a mess as it pertained to the border. We don't know who's in our cities. We don't know who's a criminal, who's a terrorist, who's not. You know how freaked out we were back in 2001 to know that the 9/11 terrorists were in Vegas going to a medical clinic, which I was there and saw, and or going to strip clubs? Yeah, I mean, we don't want to think that future terrorists or future mass murderers are among us. And what our law enforcement and our agencies are doing is working 24/7 to figure out who they are, figure out where they are, and get them out. Now, California wants to, I don't know who they are trying to appease because Trump was voted in for his stance on getting criminal illegal immigrants out. But they are not going to, they want to protect the protesters, let the protesters cover up their faces, but not the police. Why? Because they want police scared. They want law enforcement scared so they don't do law enforcement. How is that something that California, how is that something the citizens of California want? Now, I always had an issue with the masks because during COVID, because again, if they weren't the N95 respirators, if they weren't clean, if they weren't changed out, they were dirty, useless, and I even swabbed a bunch of them and showed you guys what grew out. It was disgusting what grew out on these masks. And because now people were walking into stores, robbing them wearing a mask. Prior to COVID, if you walked into a bank with a mask, already security would apprehend you. But it's, oh yeah, I'm wearing a ski mask. It's June. Why are you in a ski mask? My guess is because you're up to no good, or you're about to protest, or about to vandalize. Don't tell me a ski mask in June is for COVID. I'm not going to buy it. But now we have this mess where, all right, well, I could wear a mask, and now I could wear a mask when I protest. I could wear a mask when I interfere with students trying to get to class, spewing anti-Semitic chants. I could wear a mask, and it won't come back to haunt me. And a lot of people, are aware that we have cameras and videos everywhere. So to have law enforcement do the job they need to do, they need to have that protection. But what California wants is a way where law enforcement will be scared and will be able to be avenged if they do go after cartel or criminals. And that's disgusting. That's sick. Now, if they're saying, look, we have had some people impersonating cops, and so we need people to verify who that is before the cop comes into their home, like what happened with Minnesota, that's one thing. But no, they want to intimidate people from ever going into law enforcement. You really want to do that? You fired law enforcement for not getting COVID vaccines, and look at what happened. You think your local businesses and your business owners want looting? So we'll see what happens. 1-877-DOC-LA.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. Do you have a doggy? I have a doggy. I love my doggy so much. She is my little doggy Tushy. Oh my gosh, I love her so much I could just eat. Oh, she's my little baby puppy Tushy. But you know, it kills me that dogs don't live forever. I hate the fact that the average life expectancy of a dog is only about, 10 to 13 years? Cats could live longer. I have a cat, God willing, turning 19 this summer. I mean, I asked him, I go, do you want to go to the farm? He's like, not today. Like, well, you let me know when you want to go to the farm because you look like you need to go soon. But he's still eating and cleaning himself and, having sex with the girl cat. So I just, when he thinks it's time to go. But some cats can live 25 years. But, my little puppy dog, I worry. And, some dogs can live longer. Chihuahuas, actually. Chihuahuas can live up to 20 years. I'm looking right now at dogchart.com. They say a female Chihuahua's average lifespan is 15 to 20 years. Males, 13 to 19. Female dogs apparently live longer than men. Shih Tzus could live up to 19 years. Dachshunds up to 17 years. But a poodle, a toy poodle, up to 21 years if they're female. Yet an Irish Wolfhound, 7 to 9 years on average. Great Dane, 8 to 11. A Lab, 10 to 13 years. Golden Retrievers, 10 to 13 years. It's a short lifespan. I don't think the whole, 7 dog years equal 1 human year. Like if the dog is 5, then he's basically 35 years old. But many people use that to understand that even though they've only had their dog for 5 years, that dog in dog's age would be equivalent to like a 35-year-old. And so if the dog is 10 years old, that's like a 70-year-old. So it kind of reminds people that their dog may not have that life expectancy. And boy, do the years go fast. It blows my mind that my cat was in our family when my boys were 6 and 4. One's, barely starting grade school and will soon be getting married. And that cat has been through it all. Cat's been through how many elections, all that, but the dogs know. So one thing scientists are working on is coming up with a drug that could improve a dog's lifespan. Now, aging in dogs, it could be a variety of reasons that could age them or cause their demise. Is it diabetes? Is it renal failure, liver failure? But we're being told, according to the New York Post, that a company is working right now on how to extend their life. They have 3 longevity drugs in the pipeline, including 2 that are specifically target bigger breeds, because bigger breeds have shorter lifespans. They say, as we just said, Chihuahuas could live 18 years or longer. Some of them, but Great Danes, lucky to make it to 10 years old. So the drugs names right now are LOY001, LOY003. They target dogs age 7 or older that weigh at least 40 pounds. And apparently, they work to reduce levels of insulin-like growth factor, IGF-1, a hormone that fuels cell growth. Scientists think that these high levels shorten the lifespan of a large dog, and that large dogs have 28 times more of the hormone than smaller breeds. So if they could decrease those levels, would that help? They said one version is an injectable given a few times a year at the vet. The other is a daily chewable pill. Now, both drugs are not available. I know, I'm ready to sign up. I don't care if they're experimental. I don't want my baby puppy to leave mama. But right now they're in pilot studies. All right. Loyal is hoping to get FDA approval by 2027. There's a third longevity drug called LOY002 is even further along in development. They target senior dogs age 10 that weigh up to at least 14 pounds. So that's being tested on a large clinical trial involving more than 1,200 dogs across 70 clinics. This is going to be one of the bigger studies that they have. Now, this drug works by targeting metabolism. Metabolism slows with age. It could lead to insulin resistance, trigger a bunch of health issues. So if they could increase metabolism. Now, I know a lot of you are like, wait a second, Dr. Daliah, where's the human version? Well, maybe we could be seeing a human version soon of this. If they could get this to work, imagine, reducing cognitive decline, osteoarthritis, cancer. Imagine that. So this can be huge. Now, I don't want to get too excited because this is the upteeth study I have seen or media report over the years that there may be a drug to increase the longevity of our puppy dogs. Yeah, notice there's not a lot of demand for cat, increasing the longevity of cats. What? There's not a market for it? I love my kitty cats, although honestly, when they're older, like Shaky Boo, he's like, I don't want to go into the potty box. I'll just pee right here. So, but he's been doing that ever since he was younger. So, but I guess more people want their dog to live longer than their cats. I love my kitty cats, though. I don't want anything to happen to my kitty cats. But there was one study. They said the pilot study of 48 dogs showed no adverse effects after 3 months. So they're moving forward on this. Now, but how much extra life are we talking? Loyal previously told The Guardian that they are hoping their drug could add an extra year and a healthy year. That's huge. I know a lot of you are like, oh, it's only 1 year. But remember, that's basically, that would be like the equivalent of extending 7 years of a human. It's not exact science, but 1 year is huge. That means almost increasing 10% of their life expectancy. And then they could tweak it and go, well, what if we started earlier? What if we do, So that drug might get approval in 2026. So this is pretty interesting. This is huge. But again, I don't want to get excited because I can't tell you how many times I've seen this. Now, if you own a dog, that already improves your life expectancy. There has been studies. There were studies back in the 1950s showing how people that owned a pet had a lower risk of death. Is it because we need to love? And love helps us live? Is it because we have to go out and walk the dog? Is it because we have a purpose to get up in the morning? I mean, every time I try to sleep in, like all you guys get an extra hour of sleep on a daylight savings fall back. I don't, because the dog's like, it's eating time for eats, get out of bed. So it gets you up in the morning. They say, one study said our brains are sharper thinking and we have better processing speed and better memory. So if a dog lowers dementia risk, that's huge. One study found that owning a dog but not a cat. If you own a cat, it doesn't lower your dementia risk. See, I have more cats than I do dogs. Meow! I tell you, these cats, gosh, they drive me crazy. The only issue, the only caveat I have to say is these cats and dogs wake me up. So if you have poor sleep, that's bad for your health. So if you could kind of handle the sleep issue with them, you're on to something. 1-877-DOC-DOLLAR, don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.